Hello! In this episode, we chatted with one of our listeners, Lauri Fulford. This was supposed to be a Patreon episode, just one of our listener episodes, but we decided to release it as a full episode because her story is really touching and we feel like people could relate to her grief and also her search for a deeper meaning in life. So, here we go. I'm Lauren Leon.
And I'm Frank.
We are a married couple learning how to develop our own intuition, and this is episode 47 of Clairvoyaging. Wayfeather Media presents Clairvoyaging.
What's up?
Hey.
How's everybody doing?
How are y'all? We just got back from traveling.
We did.
And boy, are my arms tired.
Well, that only works if you say we got back from a flight.
Flying. Yeah, I know.
It's okay,
I feel
though.
like I ruin that joke every time. I feel like I've said it before, too. So, sorry.
We all are.
Hi, friends.
Hello.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah?
Hey, guess what?
What?
2 new Patreon members.
What?
Holly and Joshua.
Holly and Joshua?
That's the wrong button.
That's the wrong button. Ding, ding.
What's that one?
I don't know.
It just makes everything stop.
I have no idea what that button is.
Okay. Welcome to Patreon.
I hope everyone enjoys the last time you hear that sound. But Holly and Joshua, thank you guys so much.
Can you make it like a horn?
I'm going to make it something.
Or clapping.
I can even do options.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining. If you want to join and be a Patreon member, go to patreon.com/clairvoyaging podcast.
That's the place.
Also, we are so happy that people have been sharing, especially our last 2 episodes, the 2-part with Michelle. The way that we grow as a podcast is people sharing and telling each other, hey, check this out. So thank you for doing that. And if you haven't yet, share with a friend.
We were looking at the stats and things are looking pretty good. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Yeah, we're pretty exciting. We're growing the show.
Yeah.
Spread the word. And you know, like any new listeners, welcome to it. If this is one of your first times, we're here to get weird. And
you've seen it already.
You've probably seen it in the last 30 seconds even.
Sorry, not sorry.
Kind of sorry.
I just said that we came back from a trip. We came back from a film festival in Duluth, Minnesota.
We did. We
were screening our pilot remixed, which is available on Patreon.
Go check
if
it
you
out.
Remember. And it was fun. It's a really cool city. Also, we're going to have a travelogue episode out of it. So no spoilers, but that's kind of a fun thing to look forward to because we got some stuff in there.
I got a little bit of spoiler.
Okay.
Listen, beautiful city, Duluth. The film festival was there. That's all I'll say about that. But also, you know, it's always the people you meet, right?
Yeah.
We met some cool people.
Yeah.
We met a very cool person who we went on a little mini road trip with. And turns out she's a bit of a psychic herself, which that was news to us.
That was really cool. So that's part of the story.
It's a bit of a synchronicity thing. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
If you look at like, why did we do this? Why did we go to this place? What was this for? A big reason, clearly, is that we met our friend Adrian.
Yeah.
Guys, final call for spooky stories. You got anything? You want to have a story included on our Halloween episode?
Just a reminder, we're collecting stories.
Yes.
And we don't usually do like spooky stuff here, but just for the season, the October season.
Halloween is on Thursday. We release our episodes on Thursdays. So we're going to do a little spooky, a little creepy.
So what the heck?
Yeah. You got anything? Send us an email. And thank you to people who have submitted so far.
Thank you guys very much.
Clairvoyagingpodcast@gmail.com.
We're going to clean it up. It could be text. It could be audio. Whatever you want to do. This is your house. We're just visiting it. Okay.
With that, let's talk to Lauri. Let's hear from Lauri. She's an awesome listener, and she's like a real. You know what? She was our first Patreon member.
Lauri is exactly the kind of person who we have been wanting to connect with. She, you know, when you don't know, we always feel bad because because you get to hear from us all the time and we don't get to hear from you. And like, we really want to build a community. Lauri has become a part of the community in such a cool way. And she came on and like shared her story with us, which is, you know, we're the ones with the podcast. We're supposed to have the cool story. Not this time. This time it was Lauri. Lauri is awesome. And she has
a lot of stories. Actually.
She's been through quite the journey, and she's come out the other end stronger and cooler. And
she was probably already cool, but
I mean, there's not much room for growth there. She's just super cool.
It's true. Yeah. This story was like, okay, this is showing that using grief and trauma and catapulting yourself into this spiritual world and going like, there's more than this, right? Like, why is this happening? And searching for those deeper meanings. Like, her story is really inspiring in that way.
She's an inspiration.
Yeah.
So with that,
here comes Lauri.
Here comes Lauri. Say the thing you always say at the end of these things.
Roll the tape.
Oh, no one likes it.
Hearts and stars. Lauri, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Can you give us some backstory and tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you start this spiritual journey?
Definitely. So
okay.
I am married again, but I was, I guess to start all of it, my children are Santana's. My first husband died in 2021.
Oh wow. My God.
But I'm very, very close to my in-laws still. So I kind of wanted to keep that name too, you know?
Yeah.
So both.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's what threw me into the whole thing though, is because, well, in 2020 was rough. In 2020, my 18-year-old cousin, Jack, died unexpectedly. And he was like my little brother. I'm one of 6. And he was just like one of and the oldest of 6. He was just like another one. And then 4 months later, my husband got COVID and he died.
Oh my God.
He was 34. So that's what really threw me into this is because I wanted to know what happens next. Like what's next?
Yeah.
You know, you always grow up with what's next, but then you don't ever plan on being a 31-year-old widow.
Right.
So that really threw me into it. So I started watching the Death series on Netflix, and that led me into the First Families Foundation. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, well, they certify mediums. They are a couple whose daughter died, and they certify mediums based on testing. So I looked up their list, and I found a medium that was within my price range, and I contacted that medium. And then her results were so, like, mind-bending. Like, I was just completely blown away. So then I paid for all of my siblings to get a reading, too. And we used different email addresses, and we didn't put names in, and she just kept getting it spot on. Like, and that really threw me into the experience. So I started listening. I've always been a big podcast person. Somehow I got into the Night Owl. I don't even know how I found the Night Owl, but I love the Night Owl. I got into the Night Owl, and that threw me into a whole bunch of other different podcasts. So I got really into that. And then last year in October, I got into a major car wreck.
Jeez.
And almost died.
What?
I broke all of the bones in my right leg, and I broke my ankle, and I broke this arm, and they removed my spleen and part of my small intestine.
Ugh.
What?
So, yeah, the universe was like, you got to slow down. So I did. I was in a wheelchair for a while, all of that. That really pushed me further into this because I was like, well, you're almost dead. Now you really want to, I really want to get into this stuff.
Yeah.
So I have been wanting to take Sarah Reeves' class forever.
Yeah.
So I signed up for that to take that. And I kept thinking about myself. I was like, well, you didn't have a near-death experience. What happened? That was sad. You could have had a near-death experience. Why didn't you have that? And I couldn't remember anything about the accident. I didn't remember anything until the first week had gone by. Until a couple months ago, I was getting ready to go to sleep and I was laying down, and this sounds crazy. Like, this sounds like something that I would hear on a podcast and be like, man, I wish that would happen to me. But it did. I had a vision. And I went through the entire wreck. Like, I could remember every piece of the wreck.
Wow.
The parts that I was conscious for. And I did have a near-death experience, and I went through that entire near-death experience. Like I relived it, and I guess I was my spirit guide, I guess, because now I'm getting good at spirit guides, but I have been good at that before. But I was like, well, I want to be able to see and hear. I want all the clairs. And the spirit guide was kind of like frustrated with me, and they were like, you can do all of that. Always been able to do all of that. You've just forgotten all of that. That was just like, I don't know. It was just, I don't even know how to describe that. Like, I know when I came out of that and when I woke up from that or whatever, I was like, well, no wonder I don't want to remember any of that. And it was a little bit scary, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of really pushed me into learning as much as I can and trying to, like, I've listened to all your podcasts. I've listened to all of the Night Owl. I'd already listened to those.
Yeah.
Parapeculiar is another one that I've listened to all of those.
Oh,
and
that's right. You recommended that one. Yeah, we got to check that one out. Yeah.
Each one of those has brought me to different people and to different mediums or different specialties that take me into, deeper little parts of the journey, I guess. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing in some horrible ways, but also some, I mean, first of all, I commend you for your ability to like just adapt to so much pain and discomfort.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff in a 3-year span. Like, that is a lot.
It was all really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're clearly using your experiences as a tool to help you move forward. When that, like, everything you've experienced could crush somebody, and you are adapting and evolving, and you're amazing.
Well,
yes.
I mean, the wreck, I kind of think now that the universe was trying to tell me to sit down and be still. I'm not very good at that. And when I have been able to hear my spirit guide, which is not very much, I'm working on that.
Yeah.
It's always slow down and be still and be quiet. I'm not very good at any of that. So I'm still learning that. But
our like daily lives are not conducive to that slowing down. It's so hard to get into that space, and you have to dedicate time. I mean, it's so hard and it's so easy. It's not a difficult task, but like to get to the level where you can turn down a little bit and like just be.
Especially when you have kids too.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
Yeah. Wait, are you hearing your spirit guide in your own voice or in a different voice?
In my own voice still. And
you can tell that it's not you saying it.
Okay. So yeah. So that when I had that vision, I don't even know what voice it was in, honestly, because I was just too much in shock.
Yeah.
Because it was like when you get really frustrated with your child and you're like, listen right now,
Yeah.
Stop wishing because you can. Like I know why I can't remember the wreck now, because it was extremely painful. I remember the parts that I was conscious for were incredible pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember like when they cut into my inner thigh, and they're like, they didn't even use any anesthesia because it was just too much, too risky. Like it had to be done right then. They were trying to stop the internal bleeding.
Yeah.
No.
So I was like, well, that's why you don't remember that. But it was like that kind of frustrated, like I've used that frustrated voice with my kids a gazillion times before.
Yeah.
Like I've told you this 7 times, So I don't know what voice that was in. But the other couple of times it's been in my voice. And I don't, Sarah says it'll be in my voice until I get more used to it, or that's what she said in class.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I've only done it a couple of times where I could but yeah, it's my voice.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. Okay.
But it doesn't say the things that I would say. So.
Right.
Oh yeah. That's like a telltale sign, right? Like I don't talk like that.
Right.
So before your cousin and your husband died, did you have like a spirits are real belief, or was it like you just disappear?
I believed in ghosts and spirits, and I believed in. I mean, I went through that existential crisis thing where I didn't know what to believe in my 20s,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was different. Like I don't think I really thought about it. My first husband did not like any kind of church or religion or anything like that. So he didn't want to talk about it. We didn't talk about it. That was cool. Whatever, you know? And then, so I didn't really think about it until after he died. And when he died and when I was talking to the medium, she started talking to me. She really threw me off guard because I wanted to hear about my husband, but you don't tell them anything, obviously. You let them tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So she started telling me about my grandmother that had been dead for years. And I was just completely shocked by that. So then we get to the end and I was like, my husband died. And she's like, yeah, he's here. He doesn't believe in any of this.
What?
He doesn't believe in any of this, so he doesn't want to talk much. I was like, okay, all right, got that. Makes sense. There you go.
That's the most.
What?
That's A, frustrating, but B, so confirming at the same time. Like that's like an evidential hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he started talking. Then he started talking a little bit through her. And so I had been listening to Laura Lynn Jackson's book about signs.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Lauren's a big
so
fan.
much.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I had said over and over again, I kept saying, well, if it's really you, if you're really there, say something about your hair. Say something about your hair. Say something about your hair. Because he had big, thick black hair.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end of the call, she's like, he just keeps like doing his hair. Like he's got these black hair. And I was like, okay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Thank you for finally confirming when I was waiting to the very end. But thank you. Okay.
Oh my God.
That's incredible.
So great.
Let me ask you, when you realized that you had a near-death experience, do you remember your emotions during the event?
During the near-death experience?
Specifically
during the...
Yeah, during the near-death experience, specifically during the car accident, actually, because you had talked about how you had begun looking into like the concept of the, afterlife and spirits and all that stuff. My actual question here is, did you have like a sense of like acceptance that like this might be it?
That I might die?
Yeah.
No, because it wasn't like that. So what happened is I was going to South Florida, well, mid-Florida, down south from me. And I was going to pick up my husband, and I had cruise control on 60, and my blood sugar dropped, and I passed out and hit the tree. So I hit a tree going 60. I'm glad I hit a tree and nothing else.
Yeah.
What I think is kind of funny and kind of ironic as I was listening, I was trying to find something really stupid to listen to stay awake, you know?
And that's how you found our podcast.
I was listening to Charlene Harris's book, the vampire books.
Oh.
And the last thing that I remember is Maudette was a fang banger. Maudette was a fang banger, like in that voice too. And then later that day, I had to have 8 units of blood. So guess who's the fang banger now?
Oh my God.
So, but to go back and answer your question, a little side quest there.
That's so funny.
To go back and answer your question, I don't remember the wreck at all.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Your blood sugar dropped.
But I do remember being in the ambulance, and I remember it was just like excruciating pain. So it's like in pieces. I remember being in the ambulance and hurting really bad. I remember being at the hospital, and I remember with my eyes closed. So I never had my eyes open.
Yeah. I
can remember like asking them I was confused because I was asking them if my daughter was in the car. Is she still in the car? She wasn't ever in the car. She was at home.
But God, that's so stressful.
What I was thinking about.
Look at you, Mama Bear. Good for you, though.
Yeah. Thinking, and that's the kind of stuff I was thinking. And then when I go back when I was going back and reliving it, it immediately went from, like, I remember lying in the ambulance and I remember them asking me what my name was, to like starting kind of like a life review, like hitting the major pieces of my life, and starting thinking about that.
Yeah.
So it never, it didn't occur to me that I was dying, but I don't know. And then I almost died several times that day and a couple times the next day. And then by the time I woke up, I was okay. I was fine. I was out of the woods.
Yeah.
They had stopped giving me all that medicine too. So
yeah.
But when I woke up, I couldn't remember the near-death experience, but I could remember, I was like, all right, you're alive, could be dead. And it really hit home that I could be dead because after my husband died,
Yeah.
Like you have to do something with your life. Got to do something important. Got to got to be a healer of some kind somehow. And I got so I don't know where that's going yet, but that's what it was like. This is what you have to do. You got to do this. So.
Well, you're doing it. What?
Yeah.
So how's you're in is Sarah Reeves' class called Metaphysical You? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. How's that going?
I did that. I loved it.
You loved it. Okay, so you're done with it for now.
That's the first class. Yeah, that finished. It was 8 weeks, and I finished that at the last week of August, I think. I have to go back and look. She said there's going to be a metaphysical 2 class that I can do. And I'm hoping that I get to do that.
That's great. I'm such a fan of Sarah. I'm such a fan of Sarah.
Yeah.
I haven't reached out to her since. Well, she had like a what was it? They had like a little conference or like get together in Austin, and we were gonna go, but we couldn't make it. So we paid for it, but we ended up not being able to go.
We paid for the webinar, like
the webinar version. Yeah, that's right.
But we have Metaphysical You like development circle on our calendar every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
We've never been.
It's just right when the kids are finishing dinner and like ready to start going to bed. So I'm like, damn it, I gotta.
Well, that's the problem. So that for me, it ends up being like 9 o'clock. So by that time, I've just gotten all 3 kids in bed, and I just cannot. No. It's too much, too late. Like by the time they're all 3 asleep, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
We know that so well.
I know that every night. Yes. I know. I'll get in there.
I don't ever intend that either because of that.
Yeah.
I also refuse to take it off my calendar though. So
yeah, you have an alarm.
I have an alarm going. I've had a Sarah Reeves alarm going off on my phone every Wednesday for probably a year now.
6 months or something.
No, I think more than that. Yeah. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, oh, I got to go to this thing.
Yeah.
That's fun. So what other classes have you done after Sarah's?
I haven't done any other classes. I've read a whole bunch of books.
Okay.
So the Austin paranormal community is pretty huge.
It seems legit.
I have Austin envy. So they have a bunch of, I follow the Parapeculiar podcast from there, which is Damian Shalacy he started a paranormal museum where he has haunted items.
Oh, that's cool.
And his thing is that he has conversations like 2 and 3 hour podcasts long with different people that are in paranormal in Austin. So through that podcast, I found several other things, several people that I follow or whatever. So I did I had Samara Sarin. She did a reading, a guide reading on me, and where she would go back and talk to your guides and do the abilities, show you all the different abilities that you've had in past lives and stuff.
Oh,
that was really cool.
That's cool.
And I got a bunch of books from her recommendations. And that's where I think that my guides are wanting me to like slow down because I want to keep going. So like I'm always reading or looking, I want it to happen. I want to keep moving forward.
Are you like a researcher kind of person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
I want to find and read and do everything.
Yeah. I found, especially because we're doing the podcast all the time, I found that we're either doing an interview, I'm editing everything, or I'm like ingesting information all the time and I forget to actually practice it. And
that's the problem, right?
Okay.
And I think that's where I'm supposed to be like, slow down and do the things that you're reading about. But I want to just keep, learning and doing. And
I know, because the more time you spend, we've been like doing this hardcore now for like, I don't know, I guess almost a year.
Yeah.
So every time we have a conversation with someone, I learn, it's like one more small piece of the puzzle that I needed. And it's like really, when we first started the podcast, I really thought I was going to be developing my own like personal Venn diagram of all these people's like informations and where the overlap is. And it really has turned out to be like the majority of the information is overlap. It's just filling in more of the one singular circle.
Yeah. People have just like, a lot of it is just a different story or different way of getting there.
Yeah. I really thought it was going to be like, let's talk to a bunch of weirdos and see what the truth is in the middle. And the whole thing is good. The whole thing's been good.
Yeah.
So just wanting to, yes, I'm a violent researcher and I forget to practice.
Do you feel like, so how much of your wanting to learn, because we have a close friend who lost her boyfriend in 2021. So like similar timeline. And there was
Same
like,
time, yeah.
there was like, there was almost a desperation to understand and to know like, where is he? You know? And like, I think she had a reading and it was like, the grief was so overpowering that, and also like getting signs and stuff, like the grief was so overpowering that she wasn't receiving information because like the grief was too strong. Did you experience that?
Well, yes. And the grief was with Jack, with my cousin, the grief was just the overwhelming, one of the worst things I've ever experienced, ever, for my whole family. It was just crushing.
Yeah.
And that is when things were so shrouded that I don't remember, like, I don't know how we got through that. I really don't. Because I don't remember. I had to get up and feed the kids, so I fed the kids, you know, that kind of thing happened.
Yeah.
But then when Jesse died, it was a continuation of that. But I wasn't as worried about Jesse. Like I knew Jesse was fine because he had much more of a life than Jack did, and I was getting signs from Jesse.
Oh, you were
pretty, pretty quickly. Like when he died, his family is from Mexico, and his parents only speak Spanish. So when he died, he was in the hospital for 32 days, and they spent a lot of their time at my house with us.
Yeah.
The night that he died, the Netflix kept changing back and forth from Spanish to English.
No.
Like over and over again. Like the audio too. Not just like, so it would just change from Spanish to English.
No.
And every time I would change it back, it would change itself back. So I felt him around.
Yeah.
Like I knew he was around.
That's so
but I
funny.
wasn't. Jack is what I was worried about. I didn't know where Jack was. And I think I just couldn't feel him.
Yeah.
Because I was so heavy into the grief part, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then on the other side, my mother-in-law could not feel my husband for a long time. She grieved so hard for him, she couldn't see the sign, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, does Jack send you signs? Is there like...
I know Jack's okay now, yes.
Yeah,
I do. I know he's okay. And then he did, that I think that's probably the first time I ever realized that I had spoken to somebody in my dream, because he came to me in a dream and showed me that he was okay.
Oh.
It's a very vivid dream that I still remember. And then I had one about Jesse, and Jesse showed me everything was okay. And because so that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
So those visitations are like just so, it's such a big feeling of relief. Like, I don't know. And it's really also, it's truly like, oh, you were here. Like they were here with me, you know?
Yeah.
Even just the briefest of communications really makes a lot of the grief reside or go away just a little bit.
The knowing that they're okay, you know?
Yeah.
I know that he's okay. Okay, cool. He's fine. Good. And when I asked the medium that I spoke to that first time, I was like, well, is he okay? And she's like, yeah, he's fine. I was like, okay, cool. Like, that was, a silly question.
Yeah. How dare I ask?
Yeah.
It's funny because we wonder that. And then, but a lot of times their visitation is a way to, they're letting you know that they're okay, but they're also like, you're okay. Like, it's, it's like a check-in. Like, just so you know, like, well, I mean, everything is good.
I think the biggest source of fear is that, like, you die and it's lights out and the people that you loved are gone. Like, there's no even like shadow of who they used to be anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
So like getting that, like any kind of confirmation is so like profound, even if it's just for a second.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's bananas.
That's really, it makes it so special.
So let me ask you this. Which Claires now do you feel like are your strongest?
See, no, even though they were like you can do this, this, and showed me all of those. It was kind of like pulling back the curtain and like, oh, nope, gotta close it back now.
Tease.
So,
some red light district clearing.
Yeah. I'm very good at empathy. I can read people really well and how they're feeling, and I'm very good at that. I'm working on the others. I'm working on different flashes. Like I saw the other day, I didn't think I'd see anything, and I saw it, and it was different than I expected it to be. And so, like, and every once in a while, I'll smell like cigarette smoke really strongly, and I know that one of my husband's relatives is around him, because always when he's upset, I'll start smelling cigarette smoke, and I can tell that one of them is around him.
That's wild.
Oh, that's crazy.
He just looks at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, listen, your Mima's here, so.
Oh my gosh. That's one of the things that's like, I gotta pick up smoking just so I can use that as a sign later.
It's a sign of something. Yeah.
Do your kids, I mean, everyone, we started this podcast because of like kid with a connection to the other side. And everyone says like the kid's veil is so much thinner. Do your kids, like since your husband passed, do your kids sense anything ever? Do they mention stuff that like, oh, they wouldn't know that?
So my kids are 12, 9, and 5. So when he died, the baby was 1 and the middle one was 5, and then so 7. So the 1-year-old doesn't really remember him at all. Or well, she didn't remember him at all. She's 5 now, Ariella. But she knows things sometimes that she shouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like when she'll come up and ask me about it or ask my husband about it, I'm like, how do you know that? But different things. My middle child, not so much. My oldest child, he's got such a rich imagination. I don't know what he's seeing or what's all, I don't know.
You're like, I don't know what you're making up versus what you're actually experiencing.
And maybe it's some of both, because he's so funny. He's got his own theology. I call it Romans theology, based on everything he's watched and heard and read,
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard to parse. Like I assume always that like our like interpretation of reality is an amalgamation of our intuitive senses and like just what our brain is coming up with. I'm a very heady person, so I'm always overthinking stuff, which is something I'm now really realizing. And so much of what I'm trying to do is to just get out of my head and try to live more in my.
That's not easy.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Try to live more in my emotions, and like, which has always been a strength of mine too. Like similar to you, like I always felt what I would consider too much. I feel too much, and it was a problem, and it was always considered like a weakness for me. So I spent a lot of time trying to turn that off, and I think I overcompensated with like thinking. Don't, let me use my logic instead of like what I'm feeling. But yeah.
But now that you're tapping into, I attuned Frank, and now
Reiki
with Reiki, and now that he's like diving into it, especially, well, just with our family, he hasn't done it with anybody else, but he'll be like, are you feeling like your head is like, you asked me something the other day. You were like, you're thinking too much stuff, and I don't know. It was something like that. But you feel, but like you're leaning into that feeling thing.
Yeah. I assume also like my knowledge, because of the show, like my developed knowledge of like energy centers and chakras and stuff like that. Like it's really been helpful in Reiki. Cause I'm like, oh, like I feel like heat or something. So like I was just doing it on my daughter last night because she was having a hard time falling asleep. I'm like, oh, like, and she had a big day yesterday. So I felt a lot of stuff around her heart. I'm like, do you need some comfort? It was very much like that. So leaning into that, like what I used to consider like over feeling has been helpful in this pursuit, which is,
that's a new way to think about it. Yeah. Cause I have that's the thing that I have the hardest time with is not taking on the emotions of the people that are closest to me.
Yeah. Us too.
I can Yes, that's the hard thing for me. So learning how to like release the energy or, but I haven't thought about it in that way that maybe it's a good for that.
We are surrounded by a lot of very intense people very frequently. So it's been we get a lot of practice of like, okay, what's mine and what's not mine.
Yeah.
And being able to like temporarily use like the lessons of like blending. You always talk about blending auras or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that the right term?
Yeah. Yeah.
To like feel what they're feeling, but then also to unblend and deblend and like remember what's yours and like bring back your own center.
Create your bubble.
And I know that it's not mine. It's like when the people who are super like my husband, like if he's stressed, like I can't not take that stress.
Oh, it's
too hard.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of that. Now the kids, I can be like, oh, you're whatever.
Yeah. No.
You're always upset. No, no big deal.
With Lauren specifically, when Lauren's like in a bad mood or something, it's literally like, I'm like, hey, babe, listen, you and I have a direct like connection that I cannot break for whatever reason that I found. And I need
turn that off.
Yeah, I can't turn it off. And I need you to get right. I need you to get right now.
But you have used, if you heard the Dana Willie episode, she said just for psychic, like mediumship stuff, she creates a waiting room. And she's like, that's going to go over there. And Frank did that for my emotions one day because I was just like a storm. And he was like, I had to separate myself from you emotionally and put your emotions in a waiting room. I was like, all right, you put me in a lobby. That's fine.
But like at the same time, like I don't like doing that to Lauren because I don't know. Like I like having our open.
Hard.
Yeah. Does your husband like participate in any of that stuff?
He not really, kind of like so when I had that near death experience, reliving it, I talked to his mom who had passed away.
Oh.
So I was like, this is what your mom said, and he was like, okay. Like, yeah, all right.
I mean, if you're not in the headspace to hear it, like it's tough, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, I had to say it because she just kept telling me the same things over and over again. And so I had to say it out loud. And he was like, oh, all right, whatever.
That's amazing.
Wow. Okay. So you're getting some solid practice in.
But it's not, well, I want it to be all the time. Like I want it to be on Sarah's level, all the time. I get this, I got that. But I don't have that. And I can tell that I have turned a lot of it off or turned it way down.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like trying to go back and fix that. Like, why did you do that? Go back and turn that back up,
I know. Dude, it's to like just get along and get by like your entire life. I get it. I turned a bunch of stuff off.
I like, now I'm just like, going through a Rolodex with examples, but I like Michael Mayo's like his advice of doing a meditation and telling your spirit guides to help develop you. Like I haven't tried it yet, and I haven't tried sitting in the power yet. I'm like, all right, I need
in the power. I
need to do that.
So that's one of the things that Sarah tells you to do she says you don't have to be perfect, but you just need to be consistent and do it. So that's one of the meditations that she tells you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then one that she tells you where you clear out the trash, where you just take in deep breaths of light and push everything out through your feet.
Oh, I like that.
Clear out the trash.
Which you just do that. She's like, just do it for a minute before you transition from one thing to the other. And it really helps me. So I can do that. I love sitting in the power. I'm not super great at sitting in meditation for a long time yet.
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes is my max. Like I want to get better at that.
Mm.
But my mind runs constantly. So I'm like, oh, you should be doing this or this or this or this or this.
Have you tried or have you received Reiki or have you learned it at all?
So I've got level 1 attunement in Reiki. I'm working on level 2. I got to do that next, where you learn the symbols and all of that.
Yeah.
So tell me if this is like, I can feel more energy in this hand, and this hand's like, come on, wake up. Do you have an imbalance? So I don't know if that'll like clear out when I
don't feel
further I get, maybe.
I feel like some days are more, for me, I'm more intuitive than others. You feel things differently than I do. Frank feels different things than I do, but some days I'm like, yeah, I'll feel something like more tappy on one hand and not as much on the other. And I'm like, is that me?
I can, if I'm looking for because the Reiki person she's like, sit in meditation like this, feel the energy between your hands. I feel it more in this hand than I do in this hand.
Yeah.
I don't feel very much in this hand. It's like, so I used to be a breastfeeding counselor. Okay. So we always say when you're breastfeeding, you always have the overproducer boob and the slacker boob. Like, I feel like this is the slacker hand.
That's
slacker
so funny.
hand, wake up.
Yeah.
See, this is your opportunity to perform Reiki, like a sassy gal. You just your dead hand. You just put it on your hip like this, and your other hand just make the other hand do the work.
So I haven't gotten to where like I can feel much. I don't know how to feel with my hands yet. I can just tell emotionally. I think I got to turn that part down a little bit to be able to do with hands. So I'm working on it, and I would love to have a Reiki. Like I've almost booked with you, and then I ended up not being able to book that day. So I plan on booking with you sometime.
Oh, cool. That'd be awesome.
Something that Lauren and I have been talking about is how like all of the physical movement, like the actual moving your hands over somebody, like you can't, like that's kind of like a earlier process of your intuition and your Reiki development. So if you're feeling people's feelings without doing anything, like you don't turn that down. I'd say keep going with that.
Yeah.
That's like the way to go.
I have to learn how to get my mind out of it too, though, because I overthink it, like why would this be upsetting, or why is,
right.
But my kids won't sit still for me to do that. Like I tried to teach Roman is 12. I tried to teach him to like push the energy through his feet, and he's like, oh my gosh, Mom, when did you turn this to this kind of person? Having that energy all the time. And I was like, well.
Listen, as soon as Roman has a really hard time with something, you can Reiki him and make him feel much better, and then he'll be like, oh. So our daughter, like just last night, she was having a hard time sleeping, and I gave her Reiki to just fall asleep. And as she was like kind of drifting off, she goes, Dad, can I get Reiki anytime I want? I'm like, yes, you can. And I will do it for you whenever you, she like finally realized how like useful it was. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. She's digging it.
But it's cool that the night before too, we were on our little like Google camera. She's like, can you watch me while I fall asleep? And she's like, can you send me Reiki? She's like laying in bed, and we're like, which one of us do you want to do it? She's like, both of you. We're like, all right.
We're both at the same time.
It's like a little team effort, but she's receptive to it right now, but she's 6. So
Roman is that cool middle schooler,
yeah, like way too cool.
Phase,
That's fine. Yeah. Let him be cool. Trust me, it goes away at some point. I'm not cool anymore. I want to be 12 again.
He's my one that's like most into magic and mythology and all that kind of stuff too, which is funny.
That is funny.
So then Arturo is 8 and Ariella is 5. They don't really sit still long enough for me. Ariella, when she falls asleep, I'll like try to do some Reiki on her, but Arturo's not into sitting still for that. He's got things to do. He likes cars and trucks and wheels. So
oh man,
it's busy.
He's a motorhead. Cool.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you learn level 2 or higher, like the experiences and the like placements and the ignitions that go along with all of those things are just like a way to be in deep meditation, which is really cool. And it kind of lets your mind just, because I was never good at meditating. Not that I'm like amazing at it now, but I swear like the Reiki classes helped me just like, okay, because you lay there, like, just let me receive Reiki now. And I think it also opens up your receptiveness.
I've heard that it opens up your clairs a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to like open up clairs, and really, open it up.
Is it frustrating to like have experienced such deep, like clairvoyant moments, and then to not have access to them all the time?
Yeah, because then I think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But then hearing, or I go back and I'm like, maybe you just made that whole thing up, and then I'm like, no, I didn't make it up. I didn't make it up.
No, don't do that to yourself.
It's our little lizard brains. It's so easy to discount like amazing experiences you've had.
Yeah.
Even it's so. I don't know, like being able to hear this podcast, like because like here in South Georgia, there's very little. We're in the Bible Belt. Like, this is not a place. So being able to podcast is a really cool thing because I can hear people from different places that are having the same experiences that I'm having. So maybe I'm not great,
Yeah.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
What is like, what do you want to do with all of this now? Like, what is your ultimate, like, do you have an ultimate goal? Like, I'd love to be able to do this or whatever.
I want to be able to help people. So when I was in the hospital, it was very clear that I wanted to go and to visit people in hospitals and help them. And the way that I wanted to do it at that time was to be like a deacon in the church, which I still like the idea of, but now I don't know if maybe I'm too esoteric now for that. I'm not sure. But I feel like I spent all of my husband's hospitalization constantly monitoring, talking to nurses, talking to doctors all the time. My second husband was hospitalized for a little while and got sick and spent a ton of time in the hospital. When I woke up, I'm like, well, I'm here again in the hospital.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Maybe I need to use that. So I at some point I would like to use that in some way, maybe to go visit people. I want to be able to help people, but I don't know how yet. Everything that was so clear immediately after the accident is not as clear as time goes by.
Yeah.
Well, life happens and just the day-to-day gets in the way.
It's also hard having this be such a big part of your life and then trying to plug it into existing societal structure.
Yeah.
Right. Because the more that I do this, the more that I open up to what I really believe in, and the more that I okay. So Sarah talks about elementals. When the first time I heard elementals on the podcast, I was like, I don't believe in that.
on Night Owl
out there.
Was it on Night Owl? Okay, dude, that was the first time I was exposed to the concept of elementals too, and I was
it up to me.
Yeah, I was like, we're talking gnomes now. Get out of here.
Not even,
I was like,
tree spirits.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I trusted Sarah so much already from the rest of the show. I was like, I gotta explore this some. But continue.
So because that's exactly how I felt, because I was like, this is too much, just too far out. I'm not this far gone. So then the more that I've continued, and like I had a reading with the medical intuitive a couple of weeks ago that I met through Sarah, through one of Sarah's other people that works with her. And she was like, I see fairies around you. And I was like, like fairies? And she was like garden fairies, like out in your yard. And I was like fairies? So now I'm like, so now I'm trying to I'm getting more open to that idea of elementals. And now the possibilities of the things that I believe, now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I think everything's real. So
it's hard too. And sometimes like the thing that we talk about in our like small circle of pals that like discuss this stuff all the time is that at what point are we just crazy? And because you see like, there's that very thin line between, believing in all this stuff. And then you get into this like toxic new age, like group of people that you don't want to be like engaged with, who like are also, like big conspiracy theorists, or just seem to be, they believe anything. And it's like, it's, I don't want to say like being this like spiritually aware is dangerous, but like, there's a line. You probably understand as well, like because of you're considering being a deacon. Faith is amazing, and faith can be one of the most dangerous things in the world. You can have faith in the wrong thing. With the show especially, we try to find this balance of like, we are open-minded, but we're not also not going to believe absolutely everything. Luckily, I don't think we've run into any like big grifters or liars. We've had a great time. I think every single guest we've had has been awesome.
Yeah.
And if we got a bad one, I don't think I'd air it, but still.
Like that was weird.
I haven't had to throw anything away.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, here in South Georgia, you've got like there's a big evangelical movement, right?
Yeah, that's scary.
Which is not the kind of church that I go to. I have a very open church. And I still like the idea of being a deacon, because I think that especially in the area that I'm in, if I wanted to help and I wanted to go into hospitals, I would need that kind of
Mm-hmm.
authority or protection.
Yeah.
Under the church that way.
On like the right bridge.
Yeah.
For your area.
Right.
Yeah.
To be able to go in and to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, when I spent 35 days in the hospital this time, I had a bunch of roommates. I think I had 12 roommates.
Oh my God.
Because I was the long one. I was the one that stayed, But observing them, what they really wanted was somebody to come in and just talk to them.
Yeah.
Like it didn't have to be very specific about a religion or just to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the clergy that could come in talking to them, just being the clergy, just saying, "Oh, we're the clergy." That was really helpful. Now my I believe in God, definitely. I believe in God, but now my definition of God is expanded so much, and what I do believe in, like it just gets getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah. Yeah. So, it
really
is funny
cool,
that
though.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It is interesting that like people get more scared the less they like to have their concept of God and everything be like very small, and it's easy to digest, and it's the way everyone is taught when they first go to church or whatever. Latanya Hill,
I was thinking of her too.
I mean, that seems like a great segue for you to like get into that type of Reiki, get like the certification to get into
I thought
hospitals.
about that. I thought about trying that. Getting more. I got to finish my Reiki. Getting more into Reiki. I'm interested to see how her method of Reiki is different than traditional Reiki. Also,
because she learned from William Rand, who like created the like International Center for Reiki training. But then she like discovered her own Reiki, which is cool. But
yeah, are you already a deacon? Sorry, I didn't.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
it would be. I'm still very involved with the church.
Yeah,
that's the big community center here. And I'm still considering it. Like it's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to talk to the priest more, and I don't know, because I still want to do something like that. I still feel really called to do something like that. I just don't know what yet.
Yeah,
I would love to hear in the future about Reiki Deacon Lauri cruising through hospitals and giving people what they need.
Yeah,
physically and emotionally, especially
in Georgia.
Yeah. Those are the front lines for people that need to open up a little bit.
Yeah. And then so then you could use the Reiki. Like I wonder, I think if you were a deacon, that would be another way for people to accept Reiki, to be able,
It's fantastic.
Because you hide behind that a little bit. Like I believe, but if you hide behind that clergy a little bit, you have more ability to bring things,
Mm-hmm.
People are more willing to listen to you or to, because that's one of the first questions people ask you around here is, what church do you go to? So.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What kind? So you said that it's more of like an open-minded church. What denomination?
We're
Episcopalian. Okay, I haven't ever really looked into that. I definitely spelled it wrong.
Except for
Episcopal church. Yeah. So when I started talking to priests, I was like, I don't know if my beliefs are too esoteric. I was like, I don't believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to be with God.
How was that received?
He was like, just like our bishop 2 bishops ago said that Jesus isn't the only path. There are many ways to get to the top of the mountain. And I was like, well, great. This is great.
That is nice.
Yeah.
That is nice. Oh, I have religious trauma. Sorry. My experience is very different. When I was younger, I considered being a priest. Like I always have had such a like.
Did I know that?
No, I've always had such an affinity towards like the spiritual path and in general.
Wow.
That like I wanted in.
Yeah.
I wanted in.
Wow. And now you're Howard Stern with the crystal.
Yeah, sure. The like, it's just like refreshing to hear, someone who, is so steeped in the Christianity to also be open to other things.
And then, so another, they always say if you need a teacher, one appears for you. Well, it does. It works like that. And have you guys heard of Richard Rohr?
Mm-mm.
No.
Richard Rohr it's R-O-H-R. He's a Catholic priest who has written a lot of books about spirituality, but he's a Catholic Franciscan priest. And he says that the reason that I believe in Christianity is because I was born into Christianity. If I was born into Buddhism, I would be a Buddhist, or if I was born into this, I would be this. He said, my path is to lead people, but different ways. I really like Richard Rohr. He's pretty cool.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the initial like belief system is always more of a cultural thing than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but I will look into.
And I do
Richard.
feel like I have a deep connection to God or spirit or source. Even my wording changes after,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't know how to use that yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's exciting.
If you
though.
keep I know that saying out loud, like to your spirit guides and to the universe, like keep showing me the path that I am supposed to be on. And
I think I'm finding it. I wish that they would signs. They could hold up signs with very specific directions.
Yeah. Or
I
say
want a
something
very clear roadmap, please.
Yeah, please.
Next, you're going to learn this. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. Yeah.
Another thing that Lauren and I always talk about is using, in addition to that spirituality that you can bring to the table, we always talk about using your trauma experiences to help people navigate them through their own difficult times. And you've had the last couple of years have been quite the show for you.
Yeah.
So you have a lot to bring to the table in terms of.
Well, and I'm looking at maybe working into grief too. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like the medium that I talked to, she was extremely healing for my whole family, because I took detailed notes of the whole thing and took it back to my 6 siblings, and then my siblings went and had readings.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was very healing for us. And that is one way to be a healer that I had not initially considered. That's just something that I would like to do. So what I want to be when I grow up is a healer. I just don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
I just want to grow up. When does that happen?
I feel like you're already doing it though. Just in sharing your story, sharing your experiences, and I was going to say, it's so inspiring that you keep using the really big traumatic experiences to learn and grow. And you don't find a lot of people do that because they're so steeped in their own grief and sadness and depression and everything and the trauma. And to see you okay, what am I learning from this? How do I learn more? How do I what do I get? Yeah. What do I get out of this? It's really inspiring, and also that heals other people. Just hearing what you've done with your experiences, so you're already a healer.
You seem incredibly well adapted, considering all the adversity you've had to face. And when my gluten-free bread on my sandwich is soggy, I fall apart. So we are different people. You are amazing.
Your gluten-free bread falls apart just like you.
And I fall apart.
Yeah. Wow.
Gluten-free tortillas are worse, though, let me tell you.
No,
I had to do a brief stint with gluten-free. Don't want to do that anymore.
No, don't do it. It's not a tortilla. It looks like a tortilla. It's just crumbs. It's crumbs hiding.
Can't even roll it up.
No, you can't.
I'd imagine that gluten-free is not as available in Georgia as it is in Southern California.
It's probably not as available. It is available, but it's not. It's just, I don't know. It's not. Listen, I did it for about 4 months because I had to. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Georgia's never going to be South Beach, Miami.
Oh, yeah.
That was. I nearly passed away there just from a lack of carbs.
They don't give two shits about your gluten-free.
No, they don't. They don't care about me.
Lauri, I want to do a check-in.
Yeah.
In a couple of months and see
if we've made any progress here.
See what now? What you got? What's been coming in for you? So can we keep the conversation up? And thank you for sharing so much with us.
Yeah.
And so, like, now I can tell my husband, because I'm like, these are my friends that are talking to me on the podcast. It's like, yeah. Sure. So see, they really are my friends.
Yeah.
Yes,
This one's
absolutely.
for Lauri. Real quick before we go, the medium that helped your family so much, can I get her name?
Her name is Catherine Nadal. Her website is called The Dream Station. I don't know if she knows how much she helped us. I will send you the link because I'll have to find it.
Cool.
We had several readings with her. It was great.
That's awesome. No, just a sincere thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us today. This was so much fun.
Thank you, guys.
I really enjoy. We've seen your name, and I'm like, when you said you wanted to chat with us, I was like, yes, we get to talk to Lauri.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. It was really nice to actually meet you.
Yeah.
You too.
What a blast.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear the next phase.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that it works out.
Yeah.
Yes.
More developed.
Absolutely. It will.
Yeah.
You're getting there.
Yeah, you're doing way more than I am. That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah. We're not having visions.
No, I'm not visioning anything. Please stay in touch and we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks,
All right,
Lauri.
Thank you for listening. Visit www.clairvoyaging.com for show notes, merch, or just to say hi. If you'd like to support our journey, visit www.buymeacoffee.com/clairvoyaging. This has been a production of Wayfeather Media.